Welcome to the Mortgage and Mindset in Minutes podcast, and I'm your host, Tiffany Rose, where you'll get a little on mortgage and a lot on mindset. Hi, Carolyn.
Hello, Tiffany. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for joining us today. And
thanks for inviting me.
Go ahead and introduce yourself, Carolyn Zaiser, and you're with Purple Rain Healing.
Yes, that's my own business, and I'm a distance energy healer, and I'm a spiritual awakening mentor. And I also have a YouTube channel that I post channels that I do from the Light Keepers. So that's kind of another story where they kind of showed up one day, and I started realizing I was a prolific channeler. So I have a YouTube channel under Carolyn Zaiser to actually present those for people who are going through awakening and for their support along their journey. And then I have a Facebook page on Purple Rain Healing where I post shorter poems and channels. And it's to support people going through awakening. So that's in addition to the actual Purple Rain Healing business that I just mentioned.
Okay, awesome. So tell me a little bit about, going back before you got to your career that you're in now. Tell me a little bit about maybe how you were feeling, what struggles you had, where you were at in your life in the past.
You're talking with respect to before my spiritual awakening?
Yep, before your spiritual awakening, where were you at?
Yeah, well, you know what? I've had a pretty typical, I guess, really wonderful life, Midwestern upbringing, nothing dramatic. I've just been very fortunate in having a great life. But I was in what I would call corporate America for, dozens of years, and that's what I was doing, following that trajectory, moving up the corporate ladder. And my last position before, I'll tell you the story later, before everything started with my awakening, I was a vice president and I was working hard and doing this 60-hour a week. That's my life, right? Well, pretty much I didn't have anything that wasn't great in my life. I'd been on my own for quite some time. I have a lovely community to live in, lots of good friends, travel. I wasn't looking for anything to change. And then it did.
and in those moments, go ahead.
No, what I was going to say, what I will tell you is the lead up to the awakening, which is what I think your main point is I noticed, and a lot of people start having this great discomfort and churning of my work. I had shifted into a new position for a year. I'd been another place 17 years and it was, going well for me, but I knew I needed a change. I went to this new place and all of a sudden it was not a fit. And I'd never had that happen in my entire life. I could tell it was just within me that something was having to change and shift, and I knew I couldn't stay there any longer. So this was that start of that. I should have known when I look back that this was going to be explosive, okay? So again, I kind of have just had a real traditional trajectory of life, nothing tremendously dramatic. At least in my view.
And I love that. I love that you're explaining that, because for the people that are watching this, they aren't necessarily in tremendous abusive relationships, tremendous pain, struggling. There are those people, but then there's also the people that are listening to this on their way to a job that's 9 to 5, or they feel hurt, or maybe just don't quite have their purpose, or they feel like there's got to be more to life, but they're not unhappy. They're just super happy the way that, they're not enjoying life the way that life is meant to be lived. So
yes, that's the initial, to me, that's when something's up. Okay. Now, when I talk about my awakening story, you'll see that I was blasted awake. So, again, some people have that slow grow of that awakening, but that discomfort, and this is what I've always said in my sessions, actually, my spirit team and their spirit team comes through to combine into providing messages. What they say is when you start feeling dissonance, okay, and that's that separation of joy to you're getting anxiety, you're feeling unhappy, you're sad, you're depressed, things are starting to separate. It's that dissonance that's a sign for you to know that something is up, because that's not our natural state. Our natural state is to enjoy life. And so many of us run around doing things that don't bring us that joy. And so they say one of the first signs, and this is what happened to me, was dissonance. So if you walk away with any word to remember, that's an important word.
That is important. And I know I used to get the Sunday blues and I would tell people about it, and they would say, I get the same feeling Sunday around 5 or 6 o'clock at night. I start thinking about what's my week going to look like? What problems was I dealing with at work on Friday? And, oh, I hate Mondays. But they don't consider themselves unhappy people.
No.
Really, life should not be, I can't wait until Friday, and then they enjoy Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday sucks. So,
yes. And you know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because I lived my life that way for a long time. I wasn't miserable in my job. I liked it a lot, and I had a number of different pieces of my career. But to that end, I was always looking for the weekend, and then you're living it up or doing everything you possibly can in a couple of days. And then I remember somebody once saying to me, so what do you do on the weekends? I said, what do you do on Sundays typically? I said, well, I just get ready for work. I mean, mentally get ready for work.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's exactly how many of us live. And we don't realize that that's actually a little bit of that sign of that dissonance, that, wait a minute, something's up. But we're also not taught in our human world, our cultures, our societies, to listen to that. We don't understand that. We just think this is the way life is supposed to be.
Hence the summit of the universe speaks, because those little cues that are always eating at you and talking to you and poking you on the shoulder and trying to get your attention, but we don't listen until something major happens. So it's unfortunate. And this interview, when I'm asking you these questions, it's not even necessarily for the people listening to say you need to switch careers. It's find a way to be grateful and happy in the career that you're in, or maybe a little tweak in the position, or waking up in the morning and being thankful for 10 things, something to make you feel like, wow, I feel fulfilled, and not dreading.
Exactly. And I think the other part of this is, and I don't know, you might be getting to this later, but if you don't mind, I'm going to just speak to this now while I'm thinking of it. So the other part of that is as you're doing that and you're in your current career and your current job, because we're still in 3D, we have to make money, money will come to us, but still, as you're in that job, starting to think about the things when you're feeling that dissonance and you're feeling like you're not that comfortable with things anymore. Think about the things you always have loved to do, or that you've been passionate about, or that you wish you could do, but you always thought were completely improbable or impossible. And I'm here to tell you they're not. They're not impossible. They're not improbable. It's the mere fact that we start putting some energy forward as we move forward, putting energy into that thing that we enjoy. One little thing a day to build something out, because what it does is that creates momentum and it creates energy toward that thing. And then the universe, you can call it the universe, your spirit team, whatever, starts matching you, particularly as you're going through the awakening. And you just keep moving forward. So you can still have that job, but then on the side, you're working towards your passion. And then eventually you can switch over. I have found that with a number of people. But again, it's a patience journey, but it's about sticking with it and following what you really love, even if you think it's the most improbable thing on earth. I mean, and mine's pretty improbable, my story.
And that's why we need people like you to coach us through that and give us time block 15 minutes, or all these amazing services that we'll get into later that you do. That's why I want people to connect with you and to have access to you, because that is what's going to help them navigate through, okay, well, now what? How do I get out of this? So exactly. Let's dig into the good stuff. So let's walk me through when you got your awakening, or what happened leading up to that awakening.
Okay, so I had never been involved in any spirituality, metaphysical stuff. I always thought it was cool, but never, it just wasn't me. And so it's not like I had what I called gifts, right, or knew anything about them. Well, I kind of have to start with my dark night of the soul, because I actually ended up in 2015, and I'm single, on my own, loving my life, just, having my life. This man drops in my lap who I just met, and we became great friends. And like instantly overnight, I felt like I knew him. I didn't know squat about soulmates, anything like that. I knew nothing. I just was like, wow, I really resonate with this person. Let's go have a drink. And so we got together, and it was finally 3 weeks later, because we got our careers and we're too darn busy. And this teaches me a lesson, let me tell you, because I wasted so much time saying I'm too busy, and he did too. And what happened is we ended up seeing each other that February of 2015. And then diddled around again, and about 3 weeks later got together and ended up having about a month together where we were together all the time from March until April of 2015. And on his birthday night, we were celebrating his birthday, and we were going to go on a neat camping trip for the first time in the summer. I'm like, oh, this guy is so fun. We're just having a ball together. And so the next day I end up, we both go to work on a Monday, and we usually would text each other each night, just, hey, what's up? And want to come over, whatever, have dinner. And I didn't hear anything from him that night, but I was super busy with my career, and I'm like, I'm sure he's busy too. So the next morning I wake up, Tuesday morning, and I have a litany of text from him. And it says, I'm at University Hospitals. I have been here all night. I fainted at one of our local grocery stores. He says, I have a brain tumor. It took 5 MRIs to figure out that I had a brain tumor. I need to have surgery. I was just like, oh my God, this is my Tuesday morning. I call him up. And it's the first time we talked on the phone, if you can believe that. And I said, what's going on? He says, I've got a brain tumor. They found it. It started to grow like 5 weeks ago. I've got to get this thing out. And so everything changes. Okay. So that was a start. And I could tell you a lot more detail, but needless to say, that was a start of me saying to him, you're moving in with me. I'm going to take care of you. We'll get through this together. And literally, I was his caretaker for the next 10 months. But during that first surgery, they determined that he'd had glioblastoma brain cancer, which, if you know anything about brain cancer, that's the worst kind you can have. It's about 98% of people die within 14 months. Wow. There is no cure. And consequently, we went through an unbelievable 10 months together, which was full of beauty and full of tragedy and stress like you would not believe, but full of beauty, and which is really hard to explain how that can possibly be. Needless to say, during that year, I also quit my job. All right, so you can see where this is going, right? So I quit my job. We're moving through this. That was then December of 2015. December of 2016, he started really showing signs of true dementia. And this is where I knew things were falling apart. So he entered hospice. That's a whole nother story in itself. And that's where everything really fell apart. And they essentially said, and this is the first time we'd heard this because we were so positive about moving forward. We're going to cure this. This isn't going to be a problem. And it was just the two of us doing this. Nobody else really was involved. And lo and behold, the first time we hear in January of 2016 that he's dying. I mean, the hospice people basically said, which is a whole nother conversation, well, he's dying. And for whatever reason, we just never really had understood that. Long story short, he then ends up passing away in February of 2016. And I was not there. He ended up going back home, and his brother took care of him. He did not want me to have to experience that in my home and leave that as a memory. I did not see him for the 2 weeks prior to that because he wanted to be on his own, and he passed away. And I immediately went into my dark night of the soul. My dark night of the soul really kind of started in January with all the hospice stuff. And then when he passed away, it just culminated. And then from there, that's when things took off, which I'll stop there for a second, because what I'll tell you too, and I think this is important for people to know, is, you know, you're probably sitting there thinking, well, so your awakening started with your dark night of the soul? Well, I thought it did. I didn't know what this was. Now that I look back just a year or two ago, because mind you, this has only been 3 years.
Yeah.
I looked back and I realized, oh no, my awakening began in 2010 with an end of another relationship, which was very kind of chill and not dramatic. But what it was, and this is so powerful because so many times the ending of relationships, and I think oftentimes for women, can offer us an opportunity all of a sudden to go, oh my gosh, because what happened to me is, and I'm no youngster, so I had always been in a relationship with someone from the age of 15 until now, okay? But what happened when I ended that relationship, I realized all of a sudden, oh, I feel like I'm 15 again. That was the last time I had been single and been on my own. And I was like, had this wide awakened feeling of like, now it's my time. It's for me. I'm going to figure out who I am. I mean, it was kind of not conscious, but conscious.
Yeah.
And for the next like 6 years, things started opening up to me. I was delving into, as many of us do, the falsities of the world, the things that, delving into religion, delving into government, delving into politics, delving into all of this, mystical, magical. But not in that way, but more understanding the current state of things. And then I have my dark night of the soul, which then wakes me up to all of this, right? So that's what happened. And essentially, and I'll stop at this part, but because I don't know how far you want me to go. But then when he passed away and I had my dark night of the soul, I went through grief for literally less than a month, because within 2 weeks, I knew he was here in a huge way. I have 170 pages of signs and messages with him and with other things that started happening to me over the next year. And I took journal daily. And that's a whole nother tip I would offer people.
Absolutely. Yep.
But anyway, so that's in a real nutshell how things started for me and got me into this warp speed awakening, which I have been on ever since.
So when you say dark night of the soul,
yes,
what exactly do you mean by that?
Yep, thank you. And I don't like acronyms, and I should explain that. So, okay, so here's how I see the dark night of the soul. And again, I channel prolifically, so I've had this conversation as well, and they've verified this. Essentially, the awakening can start in a way like mine did, where it's gradual, kind of like figuring it out, but I'm not knowing there's such a thing as an awakening. I'm just learning that, wow, what I grew up knowing really kind of isn't. It's, the way of the world isn't as wonderful as I thought. It like pulls that wool off your eyes. So what I believe and what I have seen is, if we don't really wake up then and start to get it, oftentimes, depending on our trajectory and what we've come in to incarnate and to do, we will get a traumatic situation occurring to us to shake us awake, okay? To shake us awake. Because it's kind of like, well, your soul self tried the gentle way, and you're kind of not getting it fully. We got to get you to get it. Because for me, it was very important that my intuitive gifts would explode, because they all did. And like almost overnight. Now, it's still been a journey to understand them, but at the same time, I had to have that trauma to my nervous system, essentially. And that's exactly what it was, a trauma to my nervous system, okay? So sometimes that is exactly what will happen, that what is called a dark night of the soul, a very difficult situation, the death of a loved one, maybe an illness for yourself, an car accident, I don't know. I mean, they don't have to be that dramatic, but oftentimes they are. And then you're shaken awake. Now, you can also block all that too, even if you've been shaken awake. And I firmly believe once you have chosen to come in and wake up, your higher self is going to continue to help you do that, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's all different levels of that. I have found some people going through the awakening and they're kind of smooth sailing. They don't have a dark night of the soul, but a lot of people do. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if frankly, I could not have said to myself in 2010 and forward, oh, well, I really want to wake up, so let's not have the dark night because I just want to wake up now. I didn't know I was going through anything. So that's what the dark night is or can be.
Gotcha. That makes perfect sense. And whether you are, I go to the Christian church, I've used to go to Catholic churches growing up, no matter what kind of church, or if you just are at home meditating, whatever you believe in Buddha, tarot card reading, I don't care what it is, everybody says, I've heard stories that the pastors talked about at the church, the struggles that you go through to have that awakening. They don't necessarily call it the awakening, but realizing like, oh my gosh, that happened to me for a reason. And
exactly.
And it doesn't matter how or who you believe in and what church you attend, you will get some sort of awakening one way or another. It could be small, it could be big. We just hope for people listening to this that it doesn't end up being big, that they get shaken now by listening to someone like you tell the story and talk about not hopefully avoiding the dark night, which I hope that you'd be able to help them with. So,
right. And I can talk more to that. I did want to make one more statement, which kind of might take us into a different arena, but we don't have to.
That's okay.
What I have come to understand is we're all going through ascension, okay? Which is that shift and that change. Not everybody's chosen to awaken, okay? Because awakening is the conscious awareness of all of what's happening. When all of a sudden you're, I could talk about all of this, when all the mystical magical shows up and you're like, oh, it's all real. It's all real, okay? So not everybody has chosen to waken up, but everybody is ascending because we're all taking in the energies, we're all shifting with planet Earth, all of that. So some have chosen to just not participate in that part. But those of us who are, we're those way showers, we're the ones who are helping pave the way for the others. And as we take in that light through the awakening, we offer that to other people to assist them forward. So that's something I wanted to comment on.
Oh, thank you. No, I love that. Now, going back to when you met Kent, I think that's pretty amazing that he didn't have anybody that could take care of him. So you guys both met and you both agreed that this is the right choice and this is what's supposed to happen. That's incredible to me.
Well, it's really incredible because I only really knew him a month and a half, but it was as though we've known each other eons. And I didn't understand it then, but I sure did afterwards. And he honestly, and this is the really amazing part. So when they told him, your brain tumor only started growing about 5 weeks ago. Later on, I realized, oh my gosh, that's when I met him. So here's the thing. He came in, he incarnated in to assist me forward. It was part of a plan that he will assist me forward by meeting me, having the brain tumor. I know this may sound far-fetched to a lot of people that might not fully understand this, but have the brain tumor, shoot me off on my awakening. And now here's the thing. He's in my life still. We do the distance energy healing together. A month after he passed, I started hearing him, actually sooner than that, but he said to me, this is before I ever knew any healing modality. I was like, what? He said, we are going to heal people together. And I said, okay. And I was just used to hearing things from him, so I would document all this. And later on, it has come full fruition to that. But so again, to that point, there was great purpose in me meeting him. It was not just like meeting anyone else and having a relationship. It was profound. I know we're soulmates too. I tend to be somewhat of a, past lives come through for my clients regularly. So I tend to be somewhat of a past life expert, which is so interesting. But I also have found many of mine, as well as some friends helping me find mine. But point is we are definitely soulmates, have traveled many journeys together. And this one is super important because of where we're at with the ascension. So he has come in to blast me awake, move on, work with me now as I continue forward in helping with the awakening.
That's a huge point you just brought up. And I'm so glad that you mentioned that soulmate. A lot of people think that soulmate is, which I'm still learning about this myself, soulmate's someone that you're supposed to meet and be married to forever and live happily ever after. There's different versions of soulmates. There could be a soulmate that helps you heal and helps you awaken, like what you're saying, and they move on, and whether they pass away or maybe it's a friendly breakup. Or I was married to somebody who I feel like was definitely a soulmate. He was in my life for a reason, but it's to teach me some hard lessons because it was not
exactly it.
Marriage.
Yes. So just real quickly on soulmates, because I just posted a video just yesterday on soulmates. It's a page long of a channel that I do. I get the channels, and it was on soulmates. And I'd said to them, oh, I don't want to do a channel on soulmates. Everybody does that. And they're like, no, this is different. People need to understand this. So basically, they can go out and watch my video, which I think they'd get a lot out of. But just in essence, to what you said is, soulmates come in for part of our life. It's not one of those things, and we have in humankind said, oh, well, it's the love of your life. You stay with them forever. No, that's not the case. It's friends coming in and out. It's family members who you might be soulmates with, sometimes coming in for a very important time in your life to help launch you forward. And what I have found is it's reciprocal. It's never, I don't want to say never, typically not a one-way street. There's benefit for both parties. So
yes, we're both teaching each other.
Yeah, soulmates are very interesting. So yeah, I would say check out my video that I just did. And so this is in June. So we'll make sure that there's a link for that. That would be great.
Everybody that's listening can access that. And I encourage people listening to be open-minded about, like I said, whether and I bring up the Christian church just because I go to the Christian church. I know when I talk to my spiritual medium and I tell my church friends, hey, I spoke to my dad that's passed away, and he said that he mentioned my nephew needs glasses, and he does. And he mentioned my daughter, and he knows things through this medium that I connect with. And people that believe in God, that believe in Jesus, and they go to church every Sunday, think I'm insane for explaining that I connected with my Father, who I believe is in heaven and has passed on, and I had a conversation with them. So I really encourage people listening that be open-minded. The more open you are, and you will receive so many wonderful gifts and people that walk into your life. And I've kind of become somebody who, back in the day when I didn't even really go to church much and didn't do my tarot card readings, I was just a mortgage loan officer, and I become that person that I used to make fun of. Like, what is this crazy lady talking about Reiki and tarot cards? And she did past life regression. And I love that I stayed open-minded. I got to that point, and something shook me. And now I'm meeting all these wonderful people. And I've been so beyond blessed through putting my hand out and asking and going, okay, give me whatever I need now. So
exactly. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because a couple of things that you made a point of that I want to emphasize. First of all, being open-minded is critical during this journey. I have been an adventurer and an explorer through all of this. There's nothing to fear. There's nothing to be worried about, because the more we do that, the more we bring in that feeling and that emotion. I have just explored, and as I've done that, so much has opened up to me, because I just find this fascinating, right?
It is
a magical, magical journey. And then I was going to say something else, and I can't remember what you just said.
Well, I'm sure it'll pop up, because now I'm going to ask you about your services. Tell people that are watching this how you can help them with everything that we've been talking about, your different services, and maybe even give us an example of somebody that you helped.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So first of all, my distance energy healing and channeling service was my first service I offered, where I actually do distance energy healing. And that's a whole story of how it came to be, but I had to heal myself twice, seriously, when I was traveling one time, and then also at home, which they made me prove it out. And so I practiced for quite some time before I actually offered my first service and created my business. And that was my impetus, because I started seeing results. And I'm one of those where I want to prove things out first for myself before I would ever offer it to somebody for a fee, right? So needless to say, distance energy healing and channeling, what is offered there is, as you meditate in your home or relax and be calm in whatever way you want, I meditate in my home, and we energetically connect with our spirit teams. And I bring them in. I work with Kent. He helps facilitate that whole process, as well as with me. And during that time, I will work on the physical or emotional situations that you need assistance with. Spirit team assists with that as well. All right. And I'm energetically in the body. All right. So I meditate, and I close my eyes, and I'm in the body in a form where I'm working through it energetically. But during that same time, what I'm doing is I'm channeling the entire session. So I'm talking and working, and it's a conversation with our spirit team. So what you get is a minimum of 8 pages, and sometimes they're much more than that, of information, of narrative from the time I start to the time I end. And you get the opportunity to ask some questions too. Now, you're going to get a lot of information from them in general, but this is your chance to have a conversation with your spirit team. So I ask my clients, send what you want. And lots of times past lives will come through to connect in with what's happening in their current life. And then we do the healing too. So it's really robust. It's amazing what comes through. And then what I do is I record all of that in my iPhone, just that conversation back and forth, kind of like I'm the facilitator, all right? And then I transcribe it into a beautiful document that people receive. And then the energies continue to unfold over days and weeks in their physical body, all right? That's distance energy healing and channeling. Now, what I realized was the channeling is so powerful on its own that I started offering just that, because not everybody needs a healing, right? But what is offered in that is the same channeling that I just mentioned, that conversation, but we also do chakra alignment and balancing. So you're getting an energetic boost, but we're not focused on a specific illness or issue, all right? Now, what I always tell people, and I want to say this here too, and this is in the documents, is, if you're seeing a doctor for your situation, your physical ailment, emotional ailment, you always want to talk to your doctor before you stop or start doing something, because there will be recommendations come in, but we will never diagnose or make prognosis, okay? So we will assist energetically, and we'll assist with ideas on different things to do as well. So that's distance energy healing and channeling, and then also channeling, all right? Because some people just want the document and information. what I started in November of last year is spiritual awakening mentoring for people who are going through this process of spiritual awakening. And for those of you who don't know what that is, you can go online and I would say look at a whole bunch of different websites to understand it, because not just one's going to tell you what it means. And so anyway, I work with people who are going through the awakening process. And my background prior to all of this happening to me was in human resources and management of very large teams. So I was constantly counseling people, particularly in human resources, in their personal lives or their work lives. So this made so much sense to me, where I realized, wait a minute, what would help people so much? Because I was kind of doing this after my sessions. We would have time where we'd talk about the documents, and I found myself channeling more information and offering them my experiences. So now I offer hour-long sessions for awakening mentoring. And essentially we get on like this right here. We can either do a Zoom or we get on the phone, and I can record the sessions as well. But I bring in our spirit team, in addition to the two of us having a conversation, walking through the life journey, walking through the awakening journey, helping people move forward in their awakening journey and start achieving some of the things maybe they want to achieve, or else just getting through some of the tough stuff. And I channel prolifically through those sessions, which are, it's fascinating. And so you get that offered, as well as some of my experiences and this general conversation as well during the mentoring. So there's longer term mentoring or short term mentoring. So that's what I do. Those are my three main services.
I love that. And I do love that you give them for the skeptics out there, because I'm still a skeptic. When I read my tarot cards and they're spot on, I still, no way.
We all do that. I know. It's like, oh my gosh, how can that be?
So for the people that come to you and they have a tangible document that they can hang on to, and as a reminder of what, you know, the session was like, because sometimes it's all a blur. You have so much going on in your head. Also to go, oh my goodness, this actually came true. This is real. There's t-shirts about it. This shit is real. And so for them to have that, I love that you document everything. And you also, it sounds like you give an offer for a first timer, or you.
Yeah, I can talk about that if you'd like.
Yes. So tell us what you can offer listeners today.
Okay. And before I do that real quick, I want to make a comment about the document that you just said. This is real important. The document is part of the healing. So what they've told me, and I've had people tell me this without me ever saying anything to them, is there's vibration in the words that they bring in, because I don't change anything. I give the words that they give, and you can feel that vibration coming into you. So there's healing within the words, because it's all energetics. Okay. So you get that in the document too, in addition to, like you said, the reminders of things, and people, then you can go back and actually read it again as time goes on. So with respect to the special offer that I want to make is, I am so jazzed up about the spiritual awakening mentoring, because I've seen such positive results for people, and the prolific information that comes through. I am offering, for those of you who've never had a spiritual awakening mentoring session with me, a one-time session for $60. Now, my normal rate is $100, and then the longer-term mentoring, it's a little different. But that's a real special, $60 for an hour-long session, because really what it'll do is it'll give you the opportunity to see what this is like and to really understand the power behind this. And the other nice thing that I do is I can get on Zoom with you, or and record that, so that you have it in a recorded manner rather than thinking you have to take notes. So anyway, so $60 for a session, and I'm getting ready to schedule into like the early part of July right now. So I know this is going up probably July sometime. So we'll work to schedule with you. And all you have to do is go to my website, Purple Rain Healing. It's one word, purplerainhealing.com. And there's a contact me section. Okay. You can either contact me there or go straight to the one-on-one mentoring, but mention this, mention the video that you saw, and I will honor that rate for you. But I would love to work with you, because they're really powerful sessions. Plus it gives you a sense of what this is all like as you're going through the awakening journey. Now, I do work with some folks who aren't going through awakening, and we do the same thing. It's just, you know, the awakening isn't something that they're familiar with. So it's not just exclusive to people who are going through awakening, even though that's my niche audience.
Well, whatever needs to happen or is meant to be will happen. I mean, it will come through. I'm in that. And I feel that I got the chills when you said that in your words, the vibration, the energy that goes into there is like not even from you. I feel like angels are screaming right now at certain people that are listening to this going, call and we will talk to you and we'll figure this out.
It's amazing. It really is.
It's so exciting. I
get blown away every day by the sessions I do. I never get tired of it because it's always something new because everybody's journey is so different and they have unique messages for everyone. So yeah, that's it's an exciting part of what I'm doing.
And how fulfilling is it? Of course, I do mortgage financing and it's fulfilling. It's great. And I get to do this as well. And it's so fulfilling in other ways. And it's been an amazing journey and meeting all these people and being awakened myself every day. I learn something new. So I so appreciate you being a part of this. I'm looking forward to all the success stories from all these clients that are going to be calling you and getting awakened and getting healed and getting happy. So
yes, exactly. Moving forward on the journey because it's a beautiful journey. And, you know, it's just, you know, like what came through the other day was grab the gold ring, go for it, you know, open up your mind to this, be an adventurer, be an explorer, and have patience through the process. And just know that it's going to come to you. Just let it be, let it flow.
Go with the flow. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Carolyn.
You're welcome, Tiffany. Thank you
for being part of the Universe Speaks, and I can't wait for this to air.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
All righty. Bye-bye.